Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, get you the essential knowledge you need fast.
Good to be here.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into a really interesting concept, elite, enduring success. And we're using the book TWisdom by Jason Bauman as our lens.
Yeah, it's a compelling read because, well, it really pushes back against this constant focus on just short-term wins, tactics.
Yeah.
Bauman's looking at something deeper, how leaders go from just being good, maybe even great, to achieving that greatest of all time status, GOA2.
And the big question for us, the one we're really trying to tackle for you listening, is this. Are these sort of traditional philosophical ideas about business growth? Are they still reliable? Do they work in the crazy fast digital world of 2025? Our goal isn't just a summary. We want to give you like the 2025 operating manual for these principles.
Exactly. And Bauman's whole argument really rests on this idea that lasting success, it depends much more on the leader's character.
Character, okay.
Yeah, character, the culture they build, their fundamental mindset. Much more than on specific tools or, the latest growth hack or a market trend. It's leadership from the inside out.
Okay, inside out. Let's unpack that internal structure then.
Yeah.
What does Bauman say this foundational GOAT mindset actually looks like? What are the core principles for building something that lasts?
Well, he lays out 5 key pillars, 5 things that kind of form this architecture. And they're all centered on human consistency, integrity. That's really why they resist expiring, so to speak.
Okay. Lay them out for us. What are the 5?
Right. So first, a relentless commitment to personal discipline. That's number 1.
Yeah.
Second, courage in decision-making. Having the conviction to act when things are uncertain.
Makes sense.
Third, absolute transparency and integrity in how you lead. No shortcuts there.
Mm.
Fourth is building a team, a really high-performing team, but one that's defined by shared values, not just skills, but values. And fifth, and this one's maybe counterintuitive for some, focusing fundamentally on service. Seeing profit as the result of great service, not the main goal itself.
Okay, I have to jump in on that 5th one right away. Service, not merely profit. I mean, that sounds great, doesn't it?
Right.
But let's be real. We're in 2025. Quarterly earnings, shareholder value, PE firms breathing down your neck. Isn't that a bit idealistic? Naive, even. Does he actually explain how you monetize service first?
That's the core challenge, right? And Bauman doesn't shy away from it. He acknowledges the profit motive, absolutely. But he insists the real GOATs he profiles, think Steve Jobs, Patrice Motsepe, Oprah.
Diverse group.
Very. They didn't build lasting empires by chasing the next quarter's profit target above all else. They focused obsessively on solving a real problem for customers, for a community. They did it with authenticity, with consistency.
So they define their market instead of just reacting to it.
Precisely. They weren't chasing, they were leading. And the courage part is trusting that process, believing that if you deliver outstanding service, the profit will follow, even if the short-term numbers, look a bit shaky sometimes.
Right. That makes sense. And looking at his examples, the common thread, whether it's business or even sports figures he mentions, is that authenticity, sticking to their path, even when it was the harder path, not the quick win.
And that authenticity, that focus on core human principles is what gives this GOAT wisdom its staying power. It's immunity from obsolescence, you could say.
How so?
Because it's not tied to specific tools. It's not a book about the best social media strategy for 2018 or a specific tech stack. Those things expire fast.
Very fast.
But character,
Right.
courage, discipline, integrity, these are human elements. Technology changes, markets shift. But basic human nature, what drives us, what builds trust, that's much more constant.
Okay, I buy the immunity from expiration argument for the core principles. It feels right. But, and here's the but, the moment you try to apply that, say, 1990s style courage or that 2000s leadership approach today, in 2025, that's where I see the friction.
Ah, yes. The friction.
We've established the principles themselves might be timeless, but the way they were maybe described or exemplified back then, it often clashes, doesn't it, with the modern business world and maybe more importantly with the modern workforce.
That is the critical tension we need to address. You've got this classic philosophy, potentially very powerful, but it needs to communicate its value effectively to today's audience. And right now, that signal can get, garbled. We see definite friction points, especially when these ideas meet the expectations and, frankly, the demands of today's employees, particularly Gen Z.
Okay, so what specifically creates that friction? Where's the rub?
I'd say there are two main areas. The first one revolves around concepts like extreme hard work or maybe intense personal sacrifice.
The hustle culture.
Exactly. When Bauman talks about relentless personal discipline, some of the historical examples sound like, well, grinding it out 24/7, burning the midnight oil constantly.
Right.
And that just runs headlong into today's values around work-life balance, mental health awareness, the demand for real flexibility. So the GOAT discipline for 2025 probably needs redefining. It's got to be more about efficiency, about deep focus, not just raw hours logged at the desk.
So it's the quality of the discipline, maybe the intelligence of it, not just the sheer quantity of effort or suffering.
Precisely. Quality over just quantity. The second big friction point is this idea of organizational loyalty.
Ah, yeah, that feels dated.
It really can. The book, understandably drawing on older examples, sometimes emphasizes this deep, almost unquestioning commitment to the company.
The company man idea.
Sort of, yeah. But today's talent, they often see their careers very differently, more like a portfolio of experiences, not a straight climb up one ladder in one place. They value autonomy, growth, movement. If you try to enforce that old-school absolute loyalty, you risk pushing your best people away, not keeping them.
Okay. It makes me wonder, though. Are we being maybe a little too kind to Bowman here? I mean, if his original framework needs these significant shifts or translations just to work today, doesn't that imply the original wisdom was maybe incomplete, not quite future-proof?
That's a fair challenge. I wouldn't necessarily say flawed, but perhaps incomplete regarding application in a rapidly changing context. Think of it like this. Bowman gives you an excellent compass, a true north based on character.
Okay.
But the terrain, the map itself, has changed dramatically. The compass still points north, but you need different skills, maybe different gear, to navigate the new landscape. If you accept that character is the foundation, then the next logical step is creating this adaptation blueprint. We need to update the operating system, so to speak, without messing with the core hardware.
Okay, I like that analogy. Updating the OS on the GOAT hardware. Let's explore that adaptation blueprint then. This brings us to segment 3, the necessary shifts. How do we restructure these GOAT concepts so they're actually practical and relevant now?
Right. We've pinpointed 4 shifts that seem critical to making this philosophy really functional in 2025.
Okay, walk us through the first one.
First is a shift in leadership style. We need to move the emphasis away from just, say, charisma, that classic image of the lone inspirational figure commanding the room.
The Steve Jobs archetype, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah. And shift towards emphasizing participatory leadership, getting buy-in, collaboration, and crucially, developing digital empathy.
Hold on. Digital empathy, that sounds important, but maybe a bit fuzzy. What does that actually mean in practice, especially with remote or hybrid teams? Is it just about answering Slack messages faster?
Oh, it's much deeper than that. Traditional empathy relies a lot on reading nonverbal cues, right? Body language, tone of voice, being in the same physical space. Digital empathy is about learning to read the absence of those cues. It's about understanding the context behind a silence on a Teams channel. Recognizing that a delayed response might signal burnout or feeling overwhelmed digitally, not necessarily defiance or lack of engagement.
Oh.
It means actively, intentionally building psychological safety in virtual environments, making sure that remote voice feels just as heard and valued as the person sitting next to you. And honestly, that's much harder than just managing a physical boardroom.
That really does change the game. It reframes GOAT leadership from someone who dominates a physical space to someone who effectively connects across digital distance.
Okay. What about that loyalty and commitment issue we talked about? How does that shift?
That's the second key shift,
Yeah.
team commitment. We have to move away from demanding or expecting absolute loyalty, that old job for life idea.
Which is pretty much gone now. Mostly, yes. And instead, move towards valuing cultural flexibility, recognizing and even embracing the fluidity of teams. The GOAT leader in 2025 aims to build a culture so strong, so positive, that even when people leave, they remain advocates. They might even become future partners or clients.
Interesting. So you're almost measuring the success of your alumni network,
Yeah.
not just your current employee retention numbers.
Precisely. If talent moves more frequently now, and it does, then the smarter strategy isn't to fight it tooth and nail, but to embrace that movement and cultivate long-term goodwill. The enduring GOAT legacy isn't just the company itself, but the network of excellent people they've helped develop and empower wherever they happen to be working now.
That connects directly to finding talent in the first place. Bauman stressed character. How does the modern GOAT leader find that character, that integrity, in today's very different talent landscape?
Good transition. That's the third shift. Talent acquisition. Yes, personality, integrity, that focus on character, it remains absolutely vital, foundational even. But the approach to finding it needs to incorporate modern models. That means proactively looking beyond traditional hires, engaging specialized freelancers, contractors, accessing global remote talent pools.
So it's not just about cost savings.
Not at all. It's often about accessing niche expertise, highly specialized skills that you simply wouldn't find or couldn't attract through a standard full-time office-based recruitment process. The GOAT leader needs to think of their organization more like a flexible modular structure, one that can integrate top global talent effectively, often on demand.
Okay, style, commitment, acquisition. What about the core values themselves? Courage, integrity, discipline. Do we need to update that list? Add anything?
We think so, yes. That's the fourth shift, impacting the core values. It seems essential now to explicitly introduce adaptability and continuous learning as core GOAT values. Put them right up there alongside courage and discipline.
Why adaptability and learning specifically?
Just the sheer speed of change today, it dictates everything. If you, as a leader or an organization, stop learning, stop adapting for even, say, 6 months, your relevance starts to diminish rapidly. The GOAT leader today isn't just the person who knows the most based on past experience. They're the one who is most relentlessly learning and staying current.
Okay, so we had the original GOAT Foundation, Timeless Principles, and now we have these 4 essential shifts needed to actually apply it effectively in 2025. So bringing it all together, what does this really mean for a leader today? Someone facing constant digital pressure, market shifts. Why is doing this foundational work still so critical?
This really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's the ultimate synthesis. Look, most management books, especially the trendy ones, they offer you strategy, a specific map, maybe some tactics to get from point A to point B.
Right, the how-to guide.
Exactly, but those maps, those tactics, they expire, sometimes really quickly. What TWisdom, especially with these adaptations, offers is different. It focuses on building the underlying foundation, the ethical bedrock, the intellectual framework. Strategies change constantly with the market, but that solid foundation, that's what allows you, the leader, and the organization to weather the storms, to survive the inevitable disruptions and cycles.
So it's fundamentally about building resilience.
Yeah.
But how does a leader practically maintain that foundation, that integrity, when everything's moving so fast? When you're constantly bombarded by digital demands, needing to react instantly, manage remote teams?
It loops back to that core principle of discipline, but maybe a modern interpretation of it. Maintaining integrity, maintaining that service focus in a hyper-fast, digitally saturated world, it requires conscious effort. It demands intentional pauses for reflection.
Building in time to think, not just react.
Precisely. The modern GOAT leader has to build structural discipline around self-correction, around reflection. They need systems, maybe personal habits, that prevent small compromises made under pressure from snowballing into something corrosive. If your commitment to service, for example, is truly authentic, deep in that foundation, you'll be less likely to cut critical corners on quality just to hit an immediate digital target or respond instantly to every single notification. The foundation gives you the perspective, the strength to slow down just for a moment sometimes and ensure your actions truly align with your enduring principles.
So it becomes less about chasing external validation, metrics, achievements, and much more about the internal consistency, the quality of the leadership itself, like a personal code of conduct.
Exactly that. You framed it perfectly. The book, viewed this way, serves less as a step-by-step blueprint for success and more as that essential personal code of conduct for leaders who are genuinely committed to building something meaningful, something lasting, something that endures beyond the next quarter or the latest trend. GOAT status, in this view, isn't about hitting a certain market cap this year. It's about the legacy that outlasts the current market altogether.
Okay, so our deep dive today really confirms it. GOAT wisdom, the core ideas, they don't really have an expiration date because they tap into fundamental human principles, courage, integrity, service, discipline.
Right.
But, and it's a big but for everyone listening, to actually deploy that wisdom successfully today in 2025, you have to integrate these 4 shifts we discussed. You need to think remotely, lead with digital empathy, embrace team fluidity, and commit relentlessly to continuous learning. That's the essential overlay needed now.
Absolutely. And that brings us, I think, to the ultimate provocative thought that Bauman's work leaves us with. Something for you to really chew on. In a world that is just constantly obsessively chasing visibility, social media buzz, metrics, the appearance of success, it's crucial to remember the core distinction this book highlights. And it's simply this: being great is different from being seen.
Wow. Being great is different from being seen. That is a powerful thought to end on for any leader trying to navigate today's complexities. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it valuable. We'll catch you next time.